Is Europe right to fear that?
Russia doesn't need Europe. Why on earth should we take over? I mean, this junk, which is moral junk, which Europe has become. I mean, we don't need it. I mean, the only reason why we started to fight was that we have been predicting and warning for 27 years NATO expansion and should not come close to Russian borders, and that's why.
And rightly so. Who should need this moral and physical junk today known as Europe? Hello and welcome again to the Edge of Politics podcast. Geopolitical Queen here with today's episode on how former Kremlin advisor Sergey Karaganov has for the upteenth time tried to make Russia's case, which the Russophobic British are refusing to listen to. Russia has neither the desire nor the need to conquer Europe, as these Europeans are trying to make the rest of the world believe in. These Europeans falsely flatter themselves to believe that they are very attractive to anyone who attempts to reason with them. The European leaders today are morally, physically, and economically bankrupt. Russia's economy and its military are structured to protect Russia and its borders. They are not configured to go about conquering, occupying, and securing the whole of Europe or even part of Europe. There is enough land in Russia and they don't need any more to that. The European leaders have unfortunately projected this fear of Russia, even as they are the ones who have been projecting power and destabilization of Russia since the end of the Cold War. Let's take a listen to this fine gentleman for our education again.
To retreat.
Do you rule out, for example, a preemptive nuclear strike on Europe?
Why now? Not now. I mean, in principle, I have been arguing that if things go like that, we should punish Europeans.
You mean a preemptive strike?
Preemptive strike, and we would do that with impunity. But as I've said, and publicly, and also not so publicly, it is a terrible moral choice. We shouldn't do that. But if pushed to the wall, we could have done that with impunity. Americans never would have struck back.
Some would say that even the suggestion of a preemptive nuclear strike on Europe is at the very least irresponsible, and at the very most kind of madness to suggest launching a preemptive nuclear strike.
Let me remind you that official NATO policy presumes first strike. NATO has been built on this presumption. That is a part of a NATO doctrine. So Russia, people like myself, are simply emanating what NATO have been doing for decades.
Just priceless. How much should this have been explained for the collective West to understand? For the past 3 years, we have been told that Europe is not at war with Russia. This, as was previously explained, was supposed to be a pretty thinly veiled conflict between two neighbors. Imagine if during the Vietnam or Korean War, the Soviet Union directly supplied long-distance missiles, including satellites, and had given live intelligence that allowed either Vietnam or South Korea to use to strike Washington, D.C. Do you think the United States would have said that was okay because the Vietnamese or the Koreans were only being supported to defend themselves. But the collective West, including the United States, has supplied and directed Storm Shadow missiles, which has been used to hit far into mainland Russia. The collective West has gone on to do everything to directly attack the capital of another superpower, except being the ones who are directly pushing the burden. The Russians might have a very gracious look at this, but would the United States have accepted this if they were in Russia's position? Let's listen to the gentleman again.
So it happened.
In the West, there's a lot of criticism of Russia at the moment, saying there is no sign of compromise, no sign of concessions being made by Moscow. What is sort of Russia's response to that?
Why should we? We have been attacked for 27 years. We are fighting back. We are victorious.
But it was Russia that launched the full-scale invasion of Ukraine 3 years ago.
Sorry, we have been telling we have been fighting back the 27 years or 28 years of military political aggression of NATO.
And why should Russia bother about what the collective West has to say? It has been the same thing back and forth for the past 3 years. The same questions as in, but Russia invaded Ukraine and Russia invaded Ukraine. And they get the same response. We want the NATO expansion will trigger this and NATO expansion will trigger this. This is like the deaf speaking with the dumb. Western journalists have made at least an effort to understand simple cause and effect. And it would have been good if they even tried to make that slight effort to understand that causes have effects. So what do you think? Does Russia have any use for the Europe junk? As Mr. Karaganov has clearly informed us in clear words, he couldn't have said it any better, could he? Well, kindly leave your comments in the comment section below, and thanks for tuning in. I will be back with the next broadcast. Good day.